Welcome to Houston Newsmakers Extra. I'm with Houston Police Chief Troy Finner, and this is something I think you'll want to watch and share with everybody you know. Hopefully you will. Chief, we were talking in the program about the One Safe program. You talked about all the great things it does. Isn't that a temporary fix for the moment? I mean, that's not built into a long-term budget. So what concerns do you have about what happens when the money runs out?
Well, look, let me say, first of all, thanks to the mayor and our city council for giving us the support and resources that we need. As a police chief, you always want more, but we have to take with what we have. It's important that the overtime dollars that we have, we're smart about it. We're doing the best that we can do about it, making sure that we're data-driven, making sure we're identifying the worst areas, which we refer to as hot spots. The worst suspects. But I trust also that our city, if there's a need going forward, and there will be, that they're going to continue to fund that. The mayor has done it for years, and I think he'll continue to do that, and I'll ask for their continued support. So it's always a concern, but we're going to keep standing up with or without overtime dollars. We're going to keep charging forward to make our city as safe as we can. It's
a challenge. It's obviously an ongoing challenge. You talked on the program about you wanted things to be victim-centric. What do you mean by that in terms of how, because you're right, the suspects get arrested, they get all the rights that they get, but
we cannot forget about the victims. I understand that suspects have rights, but when I say victim-centric, we cannot continue to allow violent offenders time and time to commit crimes, violent crime, and we're letting them out. That's not victim-centric. If it was your family member and people in power, including me and lawmakers and everybody's in this fight, okay? Nobody gets a pass. I ask you to look at it like this. What if it was one of your loved ones? How would you feel? So let's get our system up and running to where it needs to be. Let's have some common sense about this thing, and let's get intentional about standing up for the victims of violent crime and putting people in places where they need to. And it's one place for a violent criminal who commits violent crime after crime. That's in jail.
Do you have enough space for them? Is that one of the concerns you have?
Let me tell you something. Here in Harris County, and let me say this very respectfully, it was never meant to be a penitentiary. It was a temporary holding place until you go to trial. The backlog has made it difficult, but I'm not going to back down. We have to plan ahead. Myself and the sheriff and other leaders of law enforcement, we're really getting intentional about going after violent criminals and putting them in. There has to be more capacity for violent offenders in Harris County. There has to be. And I'm not talking about, and I want to be clear in this, I'm not talking about low-level, nonviolent people who are suffering from drug dependency, mental illness. Let's get those individuals diverted and get them some help that they need, but let's open up those jails for those violent criminals. That's how we're going to make our community safer.
You have more than 5,000 officers under your command at this point. Do you have enough? What's the deal in terms of trying to get more officers?
We always want more. And the mayor, city council, even when people were talking about defunding the police, they stood strong behind the men and women on our agency. And they kept pushing the academies through, and we're still doing that. A problem is a lot of officers at a retirement age, and they're retiring, and it's hard to keep up with that. But I'm confident that we're going to continue to fund what we need to and keep getting those academies filled. But there is a challenge with officers retiring. There was a study done years ago, and it said that we were 1,500 officers short. That still applies today. Now, we're not going to grow 1,200 to 15 officers in a few years. This is going to be over time, but whoever the elected officials are, they have to understand we have to continue to put those dollars in public safety to make sure that we keep building the numbers in our agency.
I want to get one other area before I let you go here. You know, you got officers are out there, they're on the streets, they put their lives on the line, they're in difficult situations, gunfire sometimes happens, and sometimes people are killed. there are people who are killed sometimes who are blaming the Houston police for killing them, and say that it was their fault, and the person. Then there's several things, and there's several things that are now in litigation now that I know that you can't talk about. But in general, what's the challenge with making sure that the training is where it needs to be, so that you don't have to deal with that as much as seems to have happened in the past?
Well, thank you for that question. And we have to be intentional with our training, but also in our mindset and our philosophy. The sanctity of life is most important. That is the most important thing. Our officers' lives, the suspects' lives, the innocent citizens, everyone. So our training, it has to be a training of de-escalation, taking your time, patience. Some of our tactics that everybody know, and I won't go into every one of them, but grabbing cover and concealment when we can, slowing down, getting back up there when we need it, but also in the mindset and respecting people and backing off when we can. Now, you know we're in a dangerous society right now, and officer-involved shootings, unfortunately, are going to happen. But we need to do everything we can do in training, philosophy, our mindset to save lives when we can. And I think if we're intentional in doing that, and not just talking, it's a part of our DNA, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. And the last part I want to add, when officers go out and they violate our policies and our procedures intentionally, and they kill someone or seriously hurt someone, we have to hold them accountable. And we all move forward.
The last thing, the AstroWorld thing is still going on. There's an investigation underway. Is that close to being finished in terms of what the investigation is? We're
working on it. I want to give credit to a lot of investigators, but it is a complex investigation with a lot of different angles to it. And I said early on, it's my job to be objective as the leader of this agency. And it's not just HPD who was involved with the investigation. There's other outside agencies, but we're taking lead on it. We want to get all that information out there, find all the facts, all the evidence, and be objective and look at it, what happened, and making sure that we share so things won't happen again. But it's still active, and I can't go any farther than that. But again, I ask that we pray for all of the family members, all of those family members of those victims. It's just really sad and really painful for not only family members but our community. Right. I think it was a really dark night there. So.
Well, I thank you for what you continue to do to motivate your officers throughout, and thank you for the challenges you face and overcome. I just want you to know that I still want to grow up to be just like you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Appreciate you anytime. Right. Hey, Houston Newsmakers Extra, share it with everybody you know.